Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming this Saturday. We'll begin with Jai Radha Madhava singing and then continue our discussion. It's going to be a short talk, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. Raja Guhyam, the most confidential knowledge. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrindaki Jai. Manchakalpatribhishcha kripa sindhubhevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna everyone, once again. Thank you for coming. I'd like to, before we begin speaking on Bhagavad Gita, I'd like to ask you something. Maybe if some one of you can share how you're feeling tonight, maybe say your name and how you're feeling, maybe a few words. You can say, for example, my name is Dvijamani, I'm feeling happy tonight, happy that I came here, or something close to that if you'd like. It's voluntary, if anyone would like to start. This is like an ice breaker, so we can begin our discussion in this way. Maybe you'd like to start?
I'm happy today.
You're feeling happy? Okay, nice. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Glad to be here. We are actually from Dallas.
Dallas.
Our daughter got into UCSD, so we just came here for the Triton Day. Then we wanted to visit a temple and went to the Hanuman temple there, and then we came here.
That's your first time here?
First time to San Diego and first time to ISKCON. So. But we've been to other ISKCONs. We are from Dallas. We go to the Dallas ISKCON, but definitely blessed to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. From Dallas.
We from Arizona, somebody from Dallas, huh?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Ashish from San Diego. So there is a presence from here too. We just had a baby, so he's two months old, and this is first time he's in temple. So we feel blessed and happy about being here.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna. My name is Srinath Rangarajan. I feel blessed to come to California with us. And my sister got into UCSD, and I feel very blessed to be here.
You next. UCSD. That's nice.
I am Palani. I am from San Diego, born and raised. I've been singing at this temple since I was 7, 8, probably. I don't even know. So I'm just feeling grateful that I can come here, be nostalgic, and just have this community. Yeah.
Nice.
You want to say something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We came from Arizona, Phoenix, and I'm feeling blessed today to get darshan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Everyone's feeling blessed and happy. That's good to hear. I also feel like that too. So, this is nice. We're going to read chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone know how the name of that chapter, how it's called? Rajaguhyam, most confidential knowledge. This is text number 14. What I was planning to do is, I was planning to read this text number 14 and also maybe touch on something that was also earlier mentioned in previous texts, just to give us an idea of where we are in the Bhagavad Gita. So before we begin, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So this is Bhagavad Gita 9:14. I'll read the Sanskrit first. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dvidavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport. The mahātmā cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A mahātmā is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. So this is the understanding of a mahātmā. He is always, as the text says, engaged, satatam kirtayantamam, in chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is not an impersonalist. He accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Supreme Being, as a personality. And in this way, since Krishna is a person, there's so much we can learn and understand about Krishna. And of course, as Srila Prabhupada says, that we cannot manufacture a mahātmā by rubber stamping. It's not that we create them at the factory, you know. Mahātmā becomes someone who is also associating with mahātmā. So this is an importance of sadhu sangha. So he's always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he's not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all the things. Therefore, a mahātmā is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, we see that if we are able to determine or distinguish the spiritual sound from the material sound, this is called Shabda Praman. There's 3 types of evidence in that we learn from the Vedic teachings. Does anyone know what they are, the 3 types of evidence? Maybe if anyone would like to say. Pratyaksha, that's the first one. Anuman and Shabda. Shabda, yeah. And what is Pratyaksha?
Seeing, visualizing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, something we can see with our present senses. Something we can, something is before our eyes, we can really notice and see. And Anuman is something that we understand by hypothesis, you know. And of course, Shabda is something that we hear from Shruti, from the Vedas, like this. And so, by Shruti, by Shabda, there's something that takes place. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, this 9 processes of devotional service. They enrich our heart and they help us to become attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this way. Because when we hear about God, when we hear about Krishna, that message is obviously carries spiritual potency. And because we're hearing about the Lord, He likes it. You know, he feels pleasure from that we begin to show interest. So in this way, when we hear more and more, we become attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this way, the symptom is very easy, simple to understand, is that we hear, and then we want to share. Shravanam, Kirtanam. From Shravanam comes Kirtanam. That's the actual understanding. If we properly hear something, we want to come and share. We want to come and give this to other people. And what we learn about Krishna is described in one of the book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by one of our Acharya, Rupa Goswami. Nama Shravanam. We hear about the name of the Lord, or we hear the name of Krishna. And at the end of this class, or after the talk, we're going to chant maybe 1 round of japa. So the first thing is the name, and then charitra means we hear the pastimes of the Lord. And then guna, we hear about the Lord's qualities. And of course, the pastimes of the Lord are not common, they're not usual. It's not something that is very easily understood. Therefore, in this chapter, we can see that Krishna says, Avajananti mamudha, manushim tanamashritam, that fools, they deride me when I descend in this human form of life. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, there's a pastime of Krishna when he killed the Aghasura demon. And Lord Brahma, he noticed that Krishna was together with his cowherd boys, and they were having a lunch together. And he was just holding an apple of food in his left hand. And Lord Brahma couldn't really understand how a Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't know the etiquette. You don't hold something in your left hand, you do it in the right hand. And everyone in the Vedic culture understands that. So in this way, Lord Brahma actually, he didn't accept, he had some doubts that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How this little boy can be God, after all, you know. And we know what happened next. Lord Brahma wanted to play a trick on Krishna, and he stole his calves and cow boys. And in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we also learn famous text, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Amriti Tatvataha, that the pastimes of the Lord are not ordinary, and it's a great blessing to be able to enter into these pastimes. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, take birth again in this material world, but attains to my eternal abode. And Srila Prabhupada says that one should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. So in the matter of learning Shruti, or hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, what's really important is to have faith, because the result of knowledge, the result of approaching a spiritual master, obtaining this knowledge faithfully, is that you become free from illusion. When you obtain this knowledge, you become free from illusion, you never come into illusion, and you also live a sinless life. You live beyond sin. And in this way, Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, of 4th chapter, the doubts that we might have rising in our heart, they also, out of ignorance, they also become slashed by the weapon of this knowledge. So chapter 4 explains how Jnana Yoga, transcendental knowledge, gives us the cure and gives us the potential to be firmly situated in Brahmanishta, in realizing the Brahman, realizing Krishna, his real identity. So Satatam Kirtayantamam means that we glorify the Lord in this way. By glorification, we really feel presence of Krishna, and we are feeling attachment, more and more attached to Krishna. And also referring back to Rupa Goswami, in the Nectar of Devotion, he teaches that there are two main principles in bhakti. We should remember Krishna and not forget Krishna. And all other things, all the rules and regulations, they are serving these two main principles. So we continue reading the purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the brahmacārī, is not described as mahātmā in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any of the 5 transcendental rasas. And to achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. Jivan Mukta Sauchite. It is believed that if you engage your body and your words, your vacha, uvacha, speaking abilities, and also your mental abilities in service of the Lord, that it's considered that you're already a liberated person. So uchite. And of course, in time of more progress in spiritual life, we become so inclined to engage everything that we have in service of the Lord. It's not an act of austerity anymore, to get up in the morning, to chant our rounds, to associate, to read, to speak about Krishna. It gives us the highest pleasure. It becomes a very much normal part of our day, and we are attracted to these practices. In the beginning, of course, there's some attempt, there's some endeavor, there's some austerity, there's some effort, but in time, it becomes sweeter and sweeter. So in devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. There we see that direct limbs of devotional service, such as mentioned a little bit earlier, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. There's also indirect ways of serving Krishna. An example is we can sing for Krishna, just like as we did earlier. This is also bhakti, but this activity is well, it's Shravanam, it's a part of Shravanam, but meaning singing for the deities, coming together in a group like this, or singing before Tulsi, worshipping Tulsi, observing the Ekadashi days. This is mentioned as there's 64 limbs of devotional service. But what's really important in this limbs of devotional activities is our mood, our motivation. It's described in a Nectar of Instruction by also by Rupa Sanat Goswami. The principle of Sharanagati. We should enter into these activities by the principle of Sharanagati. That should be our mood. We should be doing these things not to enjoy them, not to become materially well known and famous for them, not to out of false prestige, in other words, pratishta, but we should do it simply for the pleasure of the deities, for the pleasure of the Lord. We cook for Krishna just to satisfy him. That's why we choose things that he likes to take, you know. And when we do these things in proper vision and with proper motivation, steadily, that is a sign of our mature spiritual practice. And in this way, this service is accepted by Krishna because it's very much pleasing to him. And our devotion, our connection with him straightens in this way. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. So, I mentioned that also earlier. It's not very difficult. You feel happiness from doing different practices of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in a devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master. And in any position, either a householder or a sannyāsī or a brahmacārī, in any position, in anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually a mahātmā, a great soul. So practicing bhakti yoga is not limited to a place, nationality, race. It can be done anywhere, as long as we have the proper tools for it. Proper tools means we have our chanting beads, you know, and we have a desire to chant Krishna's name. In one of the bhajans of our acharyas, I believe it's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, our practice is simple. We chant the holy name, we worship Krishna, we worship the holy name, and then we try to give it to other people. We try to share this holy name with other people. So this puts us in touch with first a spiritual master, then Krishna. And by sadhana bhakti, by this process of chanting, hearing, we begin to understand and come closer to the goal of bhakti, sadhya. The goal is prema bhakti, or phala bhakti, phala prema. The fruit is love for Krishna. And if we have anything else that come in the way of our goal, that is called anartha. So in our practice of bhajana kriya, of devotional service, in time, anarthas become very much obvious. We begin to notice that there's something that is stopping me from advancing further. So as long as we continue sadhusanga, satsang, as long as we continue coming together, eventually by exchanging, by glorifying Krishna in this way, by speaking about Krishna, by remembering Krishna, the anarthas go away. We have to make an effort, of course, and we have to receive the mercy, but in time, with maturity, accepting Diksha initiation, and following everything strictly, just by being patient and enthusiastic, and nishta, steady in our practice, the anarthas, they become purified in this way. So this is 7:45. I just want to come back to the beginning of this chapter and share something with you. This is Raja Guhya Yoga, the most confidential knowledge. And the most confidential knowledge is understood only by someone who is free from envy. Krishna says, Idam tu tya guhyatamam pravakshimi anushive. Anushive means envy. If we have an envious mentality towards Krishna, this confidential knowledge is not going to be able, we won't be able to understand it. it will be very external. And so Srila Prabhupada says discussion on Krishna is very important in the commentaries here in the first verse. And if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate this knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. So the matters that are described in the 9th chapter are dealing with pure devotion to Krishna. This is Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. This knowledge is transcendental and pure, Pavitram Uttamam. And it is Raja Vidya, king of knowledge. So once we approach Bhagavad Gita, we'll learn about the difference between matter and spirit, Deha and Jiva, the body and the soul, controller of these two energies. And eventually it should culminate in devotional service and our desire to do something practical after hearing. And the most practical thing, of course, in the age of Kali is chanting the holy name of Krishna. So, yeah, the first few texts in this chapter are spoken about the importance of hearing, how hearing with devotion and faith protects us from this repeated cycle of birth and death, mritu samsara vardmani. Then we have the knowledge of Aishwarya Gyan of Krishna. Krishna says, everything is created does not rest on me. Behold my mystic opulence. Aishwarya Gyan means mystic opulence. He says, although I'm the maintainer of all living entities and although I'm everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of this creation. So he's maintaining everything, but through his potencies, he's aloof, he's not directly present here. And I'll just conclude this little class by giving a really good example that I was thinking about, and it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It makes so much sense. Krishna says, understanding me is like this. He says, understand that I, as the mighty wind blowing everywhere, rest always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. So we have the sky, and the wind is blowing everywhere within the sky, like that. So the movements of the wind are not restricted by anything. The only restriction is that the wind is blowing within that atmosphere of the sky. So similarly, we also have our free will, and we're placed in the material world, and we're not restricted in how we can utilize this free will, where will we go, how we can move through this material world. But the only restriction is that as long as we are attached to our material desires and we have a propensity to enjoy separately from Krishna, bhoga shvaya pasaktanam, opulences and sensual pleasures. In this way, we have to be restricted by this material atmosphere, So to go beyond this material atmosphere, to understand that we are subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, requires knowledge, atma gyan, and knowledge of his janma and karma, which we hear and learn from Bhagavad Gita. And so simply by coming together, as mentioned a little bit earlier in the purport, by coming together and glorifying the Lord, it's such a very potent practice and process that we can receive the mercy from each other and from Krishna. So we, again, always chanting the glories of the Lord, endeavor with great determination, bowing down before me, and in this way we perpetually, constantly worship Krishna. And just to make sure that Krishna is speaking about himself in this verse, he says, Satatam kirtayanto mam, then namasintascha mam bhaktya. He says that 2 times, so he repeats that 2 times, so we can really factually understand and not be misguided. But in the further text of this chapter, we'll learn about how there's certain people who are worshipping the Lord indirectly by coming to, as it says in the 15th verse, they engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge. They worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, as diverse in many, and as the universal form. So they worship themselves as the Lord. They think that they are God. That a person might think that. And they can count a particular form. They think they speculate in the form of the Lord. They don't accept the Shastric vision of the Lord. They just speculate. And then we see that another process is people worship the Vishvarupa form, the universal form. Then it will be described the glories of devotional service towards the end. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Anyone knows that verse? Would you like to say it? Pretatmana. This is a very nice verse. Simply, if we offer Krishna in devotional love a leaf, flowers, and water, this is bhakti. This is Krishna accepts. And if we can't hold on to that standard, we can do whatever, in life that we see, we do, austerities we perform. We can offer this as an offering to Krishna. This is called nishkama karma yoga. I don't desire to enjoy it myself. Nishkama, nish means without karma for my personal enjoyment. And Krishna is so dear to his devotees that he says, even if we commit the most abominable action, apichet suduracharo, if we engaged in the service of the Lord, we consider to be saintly. We still consider to be mahātmā. There's no loss. Krishna still favors us. Krishna still helps us. And of course, we might make an offense, an aparadha. There's some obstructive things we can do that harms the bhakti. For example, we can still maintain the thirst for material pleasures. We can have a weakness of heart. Thirst for material pleasures means that we are obviously trying to just enjoy, and we don't remember Krishna in this way. And weakness of heart means that we are envious of other people making progress, for example. That's also an obstruction on the path of bhakti. And another thing is aparadha, offenses to the deities, seva, the holy name, devotees. So if we make those offenses and if we feel that the bhakti is going away, simple thing we can do is we can, of course it's a solution to all the problems, I suppose, is to come in association, and if we don't feel like being very active, we can still remain close to the devotees and just being in the presence of Shabda Praman, in the presence of Prasadam. This is how we get the mercy. So if we make mistakes, Krishna still protects us because he loves his devotees. He says that devotee who is unfortunately goes away, commits an abominable action, he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. So declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And in the last text, does anyone know the last text of this chapter? 9:34. Man mana bhava mad bhakt. There you go. You know Bhagavad Gita very well. That's very nice. So engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, you surely will come to me. That is the promise of Krishna. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the Supreme Award. And what is the award we're trying to receive? We are trying to attain complete, unalloyed Kevala Bhakti, love of God, spiritual liberation, love of the Supreme Lord in this way. So, thank you so much for your attention. This is a little bit on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, Bhagavad Gita as it is. If you would like to add anything or ask any question, this would be a good time for that, if you have anything on your mind. You were feeling very jubilant, happy, and blessed before we started the talk. I hope you feel the same way still. Anything you'd like to add?
So one question.
Yeah.
So 9.34, so that is also repeated in 18.65.
Mm-hmm.
So any reason for that? Why it is repeated? Why Krishna repeated that?
Yeah.
Priority.
When something being repeated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Vedas, you can see it in life too. If you have a child with children, you repeat something sometimes. So it indicates that it's important. It's very important. So Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. This is the most essential takeaway from learning Bhagavad Gita, that we should be thinking of Krishna. We should always know that when I pick up Bhagavad Gita and I read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, but he's also speaking to me, myself. He's speaking to me directly. So this experience should give us a desire to satisfy Krishna by remembering him. And how do we remember Krishna? The best way, because remembering Krishna or Krishna himself is not different from bhakti, from devotional service. So if we always engage our mind in devotional activities, as mentioned, hearing Bhagavatam, Katha, chanting the holy name, Srila Prabhupada would say that when you chant the holy name, you remember Krishna. This is the most natural thing. And of course, there are some things that can deviate our remembrance. It could be, we all know, Maya Devi, very strong illusion. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said that it's not that Maya is strong, it's that we are weak. So, yes, these instructions are essential. This is our main practices. We, as mentioned, we dedicate or arrange our life in such a way that 24 hours a day we're always constantly thinking of Krishna, constantly remembering Him. We become devotees of the Lord, offer obeisances, and then in that way we're completely absorbed. There's a whole science on even how to offer obeisances without aparadhas, or without, because we can offer obeisances just out of etiquette. There's no really heart involved in it. We just bow down, and it's there's no meaning, there's no love. But if you see how saintly people, how a sadhu, a spiritual teacher, our guru is offering obeisances, how he's seeing the deities, singing for Krishna, how he's speaking, just by seeing him, we're filled with bhakti. This is present, So, man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. We'll learn the science of devotional life by observing someone who already has that, a spiritual master. I don't know if this is something on your question. Anything else?
Thank you. Dvijamani Das is a resident here in the temple, and he's translating a Guru's ordered him to translate Prabhupada's work into Russian. That's what he's doing, isn't it?
Say it again. What am I? Translating.
You're translating Prabhupada's work or books to Russian. Am I right?
Translating? Not exactly translating. We're just trying to share these books publicly, for example. Actually, today I was speaking with one person, and I showed him this verse. He was an American person here with his friends. And I showed him the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, speaking. I don't know, I was just inspired to say that if you want to understand how this knowledge is being imparted and being carried by a teacher to a disciple, you have to become non-envious. You're not an envious person, right? And I showed it to him, and in the beginning it says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. We know what that means. So he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he got a little discouraged by seeing that, unfortunately. And but that's just one occasion. Many people that I've met, not many, but some people who are very nice, and they've accepted Bhagavad Gita. So that's what we do here and everywhere in the world, in America, and because the Western countries are here for preaching. We're in this city life, People are not Krishna conscious; they're really far away from it. So we're trying to share the message of Bhagavad Gita, inspire people, and give them these transcendental teachings. And hopefully we'll continue doing so, and I'd like to encourage you to also share something, because this is the service, just mentioning, showing, speaking about Krishna to someone, chanting the holy name. This is the greatest service we can do to Srila Prabhupada, to Bhagavad Gita. Because we have gratitude, we receive this, it helps us. We feel how important it becomes in our life to read Bhagavad Gita. We mold our life in such a way that Bhagavad Gita is in the center. So if we feel like that, we should naturally feel generous enough to share it, this transcendental knowledge.
Thank you very much, Das.
Hare
We
Krishna.
have the prasadam served outside. Can get it and come inside and eat, or sit outside and eat. And the last session at 8:15 for 15 minutes. So 8:15 to 8:30 curtain will be open. And when the curtains are open, then you can eat. You have to go outside to eat. Otherwise you can stay here. And thank you very much coming from Arizona and from Dallas, and welcome to UCSC.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki